So while Russia's Putin continues to completely ignore the deterioration, the near imminent collapse of his economy, and his waning influence internationally, he is seeing the provocations occur on NATO, leading to a marked and unified response, but not across all, specifically amongst Eastern Europe, led by one specific nation who has planning this for years: Poland. Indeed, while Western Europe has spent years cutting defence budgets, closing conscription programmes, seemingly being indifferent, negligent to the threat of the autocrat and the Kremlin, and convincing itself that another war on the continent wasn't possible, Poland has been quietly going in the opposite direction. For over a decade, it has prepared for the day when Putin's Russia may again threaten Europe's borders. And now that preparation is proving prophetic. Because as Russian drones violate NATO airspace and Putin tests that alliance with more provocations, Poland has become Europe's newest military powerhouse and Washington's most indispensable partner. So in this video, I wanted to explore specifically what the buildup of Poland's military capabilities actually means, why it really matters more than you might think in the long run for Europe's overall unity and resistance against Putin, and how it could play out as Putin continues to escalate.
This is the Global Gambit.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, where we are turning to Eastern Europe to look at how Poland's rapid and consistent militarization has turned into the West's frontline fortress, other than that of Ukraine, of course, and how Trump's recent escalations in the tacit support of Ukraine fits perfectly into this broader strategy to repel and contain Moscow. But before going ahead, what do you think? Tell me your thoughts below. Is Poland the West's best effort to defy the Kremlin? And what do you think other nations can learn from Poland, the Baltics, and those that continue to understand the real threat that Vladimir Putin poses? Now, when Russia annexed Crimea in 2014, many European capitals treated it as an aberration, but Poland treated it as a stark warning. And within a year, Warsaw had launched a comprehensive defence overhaul, expanding its forces, revamping training, and pouring billions into US hardware. Fast forward to now, Poland's defence spending stands at 4.7% of GDP, the highest of any country in NATO. Its active duty personnel exceeds 210,000, with another 30 to 40,000 territorial defense units. It has purchased over 50 billion in US weapons, including Abrams tanks, HIMARS rocket systems, Patriots, and F-35 fighter jets. Its 18th Mechanical Division remains on permanent alert with 2 or more information. For context, Germany spends 2%, France 1.9%, Italy 1.5% of its GDP on military expenditure. So Warsaw alone now outspends the entire Nordic region combined. Poland's goal isn't symbolic, it's existential, and taking it upon itself to almost represent as a protector the smaller nations around it. It assumes that if Russia moves west again, Poland won't have time to mobilize later. It has to be ready now. That mindset has been vindicated because of those Russian drones that have breached its airspace, along with Germany's, Denmark's, Romania's. And for the first time since the Cold War, NATO fighter jets having to confront Russian UAVs over Allied territory. Donald Tusk has called it the closest Poland has ever been to open conflict since the end of the Second World War. So you have to see that Poland's caution is not paranoia, as I've seen some people say. It's history. For centuries, as we know, the country has been split and erased by empires surrounding it. It was partitioned by Prussia, Austria, Russia in the 18th century, invaded by Germany and the Soviet Union in 1939. That collective trauma is built into Polish political DNA. And so while many Western capitals, be it from Italy to Spain, have grown comfortable under the idea of the inevitable American security umbrella, Poland has kept its eye, or at least one of them, on the eastern border. And even as others have downsized their armies, also has kept training, kept mobilizing, and planning for the worst. As others have put it, while others have been waiting for someone else to make the first move, Poland has been moving first and ended up ahead of almost everyone else in NATO. And we can see this also from the sheer size that the Polish economy has changed from, overtaking Greece and becoming one of the largest in incredible rates. Today, Poland is the logistical hinge of NATO's entire eastern flank. If Russia ever attacked the Baltics, reinforcements from the west would have to pass through Polish territory. That's why Warsaw has upgraded its highways, rail lines, and civilian airports to handle mass troop deployment. It's also why Poland hosts more than 10,000 US and allied troops serving as NATO's largest forward base in Europe. And the equipment pouring into it is staggering. K2 Black Panther tanks from South Korea, K9 Third Thunder artillery systems, Apache attack helicopters, a domestic version of the US HIMARS system already tested in major war games like Iron Defender 2025, involving 30,000 NATO troops. And so Warsaw's ambitions are clear: to make Russia's advances across Belarus or towards Kaliningrad military inconceivable. Now, of course, this transformation comes at a price, and we often talk about the economic element here. Maintaining a modern army that this size will stretch Poland's finances, even with GDP growth consistently above 3%. Warsaw is already discussing cost sharing with Berlin, for example, turning old debates over World War II reparations into a pragmatic partnership for collective defense. For Germany, it's politically delicate, but for Poland, it's symbolic redemption and a very interesting turn of events, considering 80 years on from where these two used to be. Then there is the transatlantic connection more specifically. Poland's determination doesn't exist in isolation. It aligns perfectly with the broader shift in US strategy, one being driven, sometimes unconventionally, over the past few months and the summer from Donald Trump. US intelligence has for months now been actively assisting Ukraine in conducting long-range drone and missile strikes deep across Russia. Targets have included those oil refineries, those fuel depots, energy pipelines, all essential to financing Putin's war machine, but also keeping the frontline war campaign active. You're never better off than targeting your enemy's supply lines. That intelligence flow intensified after a July phone call between Trump and Zelensky, where Trump reportedly asked whether Ukraine could strike Moscow if the US provided the right weapons. And within weeks, Ukraine began hitting deeper and harder. Now, for most people who follow this on a daily basis, like myself, it didn't take that much of a surprise to see that being the case. But for it to be confirmed is still a big deal. And it shows you that despite what Trump has been doing on the diplomatic side, the chauvinism of hosting Putin in Alaska, behind the scenes, at least his military side, have been doing perhaps more constructive things. And so by autumn now, 16 of Russia's 38 oil refineries have been struck, disrupting over 1 million barrels a day of refining capacity. Fuel prices have spiked, exports have been slashed, and Moscow has been forced to import fuel from Belarus and China. An extraordinary reversal for the country that late John McCain, used to say was nothing but a big gas station. So US officials insist Ukraine chooses its own targets, but insiders have told me and others that Washington has shaped the priorities and provides information to ensure maximum vulnerability. One has even described Kiev's drone campaign as an American instrument to undermine Russia's economy. And as Trump being Trump, he has hinted, whilst his main focus has been on settling Gaza, that, well, if it's not going to get settled in the diplomatic way, then what about those Tomahawks? The Tomahawk cruise missile, which I covered in another video recently, can fly over 2 kilometers with near precision guidance and would give Ukraine the ability to strike virtually any point in western Russia, i.e. west of the Ural Mountains. So for Moscow and Putin himself, that prospect is absolutely terrifying. And for Warsaw, it's reassurance that deterrence has finally returned and a reversal of the threat of pulling out those various thousands of US troops from Poland that Trump had said just a few weeks ago. But this is TACO, and we have to remain very, very cognizant of whether he'll follow through. But if we take it at face value, what we are seeing now is a rare alignment again between European will and American muscle. Poland is rearming faster than any nation in modern European history, and the United States under Trump is taking a more direct role again in degrading Russia's economic and military infrastructure. Both are built on the same logic. The diplomacy alone can no longer guarantee peace, or frankly at this point is completely pointless and irrelevant. Only capability can. And so together, they're changing the geometry of power across the continent. Warsaw is becoming NATO's military cornerstone, Ukraine testing ground for new technologies, tactics, alliances, but also innovation. And Trump, intentionally or not, is still trying to position himself as an architect of a new era of Western hard power. And for Putin, this really is his worst nightmare. A Europe finally ready to fight, led by countries that were once incredibly subjugated by the greatest entity he's ever seen, the former Soviet Union, but also the United States, no longer sitting on the sidelines, but actually willing to help, and quite thoroughly. Now, of course, none of this is risk-free. We have to be cautious and not get overconfident if we want to see the toppling of a dictator like Vladimir Putin. Poland's spending spree does still come with potential economic strains. A lot of wartime spending doesn't have the same long-term economic benefits, supply-side benefits and impacts that other expenditure on other industries does. Trump's political volatility is something we always have to keep, unfortunately, in the back of our minds. And Europe still, to be honest, without the US or a stable transatlantic relationship, lacks a truly unified command. But leaving that aside, one thing has changed and is changing beyond question. That for the first time in a long time, Putin, the Kremlin, is reacting to Western moves rather than dictating them. And Poland has become the line Putin cannot cross, the wall that turns his imperial nostalgia into a strategic trap. Because as we know, whenever he lashes out, Putin's back is against the wall. And he's doing that more than ever, not just in what he does in Europe, but his desperate apologies and diplomatic flurries around other parts of the world to sustain international support and legitimacy. But let me know what you think. What do you see about Poland's role in all of this? And how bad is it getting for Putin week after week, day after day? I look forward to your comments. But if you don't know me, my name is Pyotr. I am half English, half Russian, coming from both parts of the world that are involved in this war. And I try to do my best to bring those different perspectives, as well as my professional experience in the UN, in the World Bank, studying at Johns Hopkins SAIS in international policy, strategic studies, and economics onto this channel, and give you interesting, insider, useful takes on these complex, global, rapidly unfolding events. But with that, watch this one next on the extraordinary apology that Putin shared to Azerbaijan, of all countries. See you in the next one. Take care.